Hi, I'm Untitled Chapter, and today I want to show you 5 super simple techniques for creating effects for practically any sort of electronic music. But some of these are going to lend themselves towards darker, more underground tracks. So the first technique I want to show you works well with loops and a lot of percussive sounds. So I found a loop that I think has an interesting texture to it. And what I want to do here is time stretch it into oblivion. First, let me play you the track that I'm using, and then let me solo the loop so you can hear that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the warp mode to repitch to get this low gritty sound. And then I'm just going to stretch out the sound so that it creates this dark texture just before the track kicks back in. So that creates this really satisfying low boom, but we can go further by consolidating the clip and then stretching it beyond oblivion. That's right, beyond. Let's just get this ending right. I want to loop that pretty far. Make sure that I'm dragging the right part out. I'm not changing this to repitch, I'm just using the standard complex mode. Okay, so let's just clean that up with a bit of EQ and, of course, a generous amount of reverb as well. So just to help that fit in with the track a bit better, I'm going to compress the sound, side chaining it to the kick, and then I'm going to play around with automating the EQ to fade it out. I'm just going to fiddle with a few settings here until it sounds right. I don't have any particular settings in mind. A bit more automation, make it more interesting. Okay, I just want to change the high pass here. Bring in a bit more of the high end and let a bit more of the low through. Let's bring the ratio down, or the threshold, sorry. And I want to let a bit more high through as well. Magical. So the beauty with this is you can experiment with different loops and effects and get some really interesting textures here. Single out individual sounds and then stretch them as far as you can. Play around with using different time stretching algorithms. You don't necessarily have to pitch everything down. Sometimes using textures, the texture algorithm within Ableton Live can give this really gritty lo-fi sound. The next technique I want to show you is using a delay on the same loop. I'm going to pick out a different element, and what I'm going to do here is change the delay timings as I go. Now, one slightly hidden feature within Ableton's delay that you're going to need to switch on for this is changing it to pitch instead of the default jump setting. This means that the delay will kind of speed up or slow down like a tape delay would when you're changing the delay timings. Let's guess what settings might sound good, and then I'm just going to play and record this in live just to record what I get. So that was completely at random and you're hearing it jump around. The automation is recorded in, so you can of course go back and change some of the transitions if you don't like them. One way to take this further is to unlink the stereo delay so that you can affect both the left and right channels independently. Let's take a listen. I'll just EQ it slightly and adjust the wet dry knob until it blends in better. I'll probably end up adding some reverb in as well. So another technique you might have heard a lot on more darker and harder techno records is placing a clap on the offbeat at the end of the bar. This can work wonders in darker tracks as it gives a huge sense of space, kind of like you're listening to the track in a massive tunnel. This will sound great drenched in reverb. You'll probably want to put the reverb directly on the channel so you can control how much dry signal makes it through. Again, it's all about experimentation here. Let's guess some settings and take a listen. Okay, so let's play around with some automation. It's important to cut out a lot of the extreme frequencies when you're using such extreme settings on a reverb, as it can end up taking up far too much space in your mix. Okay, so let's make that reverb just a little bit longer and bigger. We're up the decay time. So I've automated the high end cutoff to help it fade away into the track. This one is dead easy, but always sounds huge. So the next technique involves short vocal snippets. Here I've recorded myself literally just saying the letter E. You can use whatever you want, but it's best to keep it short and snappy as you'll want to thicken the sound with the delay. E. E. Not exactly spectacular, but I can use any sort of delay set to a really short delay time to thicken it up. You want to make sure the delay isn't set to be in sync, and you can play around with the settings here. E. So that's sounding both thicker and more robotic. Let's send that to a reverb and hear it with the rest of the track. Okay, so that could work. You could use compression and drive to make it sound even bigger, kind of like the voice of God talking over the track. But one thing that could spice it up and help it blend into the track better is the last tip I want to show you. It's the reverse reverb build. It creates a kind of sucking effect, and it's been used in countless recordings to introduce vocals. The bonus is it's really quite simple to do. So what we'll need to do is, in a new channel, record our big E. Next, we reverse our recorded sound and add a monster reverb on top. You can really go crazy here. The bigger the better in most cases. So now we can freeze that track and flatten it so it's a single sample. Now once this is done, all we need to do is reverse that again for this building sound that will blend our E in perfectly. So let's take a listen to this. Let's up the reverb. And now with our clap. Okay, simple but effective. The trick to getting a lot of these sounds to blend in is to send them all to the same kind of reverb, and also spend a lot of time checking they're not overpowering in the mix. You don't end up with crashes or build that overload your master bus compressor, as this can make your track kind of turn into a sausage every time you want something dramatic to happen. Let me know down in the comments your tips for creating huge dramatic sounds from very simple sources.